Welcome to another alternate history. This is an alternate history based off of a Victoria 2 game I played a while back. Then I had ChatGPT make into a history book, and this is the summary of that mediocre history book. The game didn't last long, but there was still enough that this will be a series. You already know American history up to the game's start date of 1861, probably, so I'm not going to bother you with real history. So let's get into this other timeline. On July 1st, 1861, the Confederate States of America broke away from the United States of America. The superior Union forces were being beaten by the Army of Northern Virginia, led by Robert E. Lee. Lee was notable for two things: fighting in the Mexican-American War and arresting John Brown at Harper's Ferry. Lee was OP. Despite the larger Army of the Potomac, Lee still won. There was going to be an attempt to do a so-called fork plan, but that failed. On June 28th, it all came to a head because General Ulysses Grant died of some sort of disease. This pushed Lincoln to sue for peace. The Treaty of Richmond was signed on July 4th, 1862. Ironic. The Union was completely demoralized. The Union was forced to recognize the Confederacy and their claims on slaves. Tensions didn't go down at all after this. Idaho became the 36th state of the new 36-state nation in an attempt to regain national pride. Times were very dark. In a better planned move, Congress bought Alaska from the Russian Empire on October 11, 1862. The purchase was also known as Seward's Folly, which makes sense because Alaska at the time was a bunch of useless tundra and dense forests. In the future, oil might have showed up, but it didn't materialize in time. Lincoln, trying to get a good name for himself, decided to invade Colombia in 1863 to liberate Panama. American forces said, "Forget tactics," and just arbitrarily landed in Panama. America and its allies made their way deeper into the Colombia, defeating the logistically challenged Colombians. By January 11th of 1864, the Treaty of Bogota was signed, with the zone near where the Panama Canal was going to be built being ceded to the U.S. Panama was also free, but the author of the history book clearly doesn't care enough about Panama to actually mention it. The zone was renamed to Balboa and became the 37th state in the Union. This would become one of the most diverse states in all of America, with Germans, Yanks, and Russians all moving in to exploit the 3,000 square miles of jungle for factories. With the American spirit somewhat restored, the Confederacy was in the crosshairs of America once more. That was intentional, by the way. This time America brought its friends. Slavery got outlawed across the Union on July 14th, 1864. And this was another bit of Lincoln's attempt to win the presidency, but it didn't work, and he wasn't re-elected. Instead, General McClellan, who was still in fact fighting in the Civil War, was elected president. In September of 1865, Don Carlos Buell marched from Atlanta to Savannah. Buell's march to the sea decimated the infrastructure, sending the message to the South that the Union meant business. By fall of 1866, the Confederacy was on its last legs, and at the Third Battle of Shreveport, Lee had finally lost to a force 3 times his size. Lee's final defeat after his valiant efforts, he surrendered at Caddo Parish Courthouse on October 3rd, 1866. The Confederacy was reintegrated on the 7th of the month, with 12 states being readmitted, making a total of 49 states. Don't do the math. 1867, President McClellan issued the terribly and wrongly named Emancipation Proclamation, which was an executive order that basically ensured the rights of African Americans as citizens. This was a key step in the long, but also not so long, road towards racial equality in the United States. In 1869, the U.S. got permission from the Khedivite of Egypt to excavate the area known as the Valley of the Kings. It sparked an interest in Egyptology, with Egypt mania lasting a while in the United States. On May 27th of 1869, the minor general William Sherman died, which threw the nation into mourning. The 1870 election had the Democrat McClellan become re-elected. The dominance of the Democrats had been shown as they had 32 of the 49 states of America. It became evident that something was happening, as in 8 states, the majority of people had voted for the Socialist Party, even more than the Republican Party, who had 7 states. Missouri, deciding to do its own thing, decided to vote for the anarcho-capitalist Radical Party for some reason. That decade was the most important in all of American history. Next time, we will dive into the expansionism of the 80s and all the chaos that came with it. Thank you for watching. This is Oink. Goodbye.